When Serena Williams arrived on the tennis scene aged 14, none of her adversaries were ready. She raised the bar physically and mentally, leaving a legacy as one of the most decorated sports people of all time. Collecting 23 Grand Slams, 4 Olympic gold medals, over 6 years at world number 1, and almost $100 million in prize winnings, Serena Williams was the woman to beat for almost 20 years. But nothing has come easy for her. Along with her sister Venus, Serena was coached from a young age by their father. The two of them had to fight for a place in the sport, something that continued into their professional careers. Serena fought against the odds to revive her career twice, dominating women's tennis and ushering in a new era. Her journey to 23 Grand Slams opened the door for a new generation of players. This is the story of Serena Williams. Serena Williams was born in Michigan at the beginning of the 1980s to a big family. In total, she had 7 half-siblings but grew up closest with her full older sister Venus. The two of them had their early lives shaped by their father's vision. Richard Williams had the dream of turning his 2 daughters into professional tennis players. He was serious about their training. Richard created an extensive regime and planned for honing their skills, starting them on the court at age 4. One coach that was used as part of their development said that despite the hard training, Richard always allowed his daughters to be little girls too. Others had a different impression. The police were once called by a neighbor who believed that Richards may have been taking things too far. By the time the family moved to West Palm Beach in Florida, Serena Williams was on the verge of perfecting her skills. In 1995, she tried to enter a WTA event in California, but was denied because of her age. Richard was determined to prove that his daughters were ready for professional tennis, and so just a few months later arranged for Serena to enter a tournament in Quebec by using a wildcard entry. Unfortunately, this wasn't destined to be her big moment. She was knocked out in the first round after a lackluster performance. Bruised by the loss, Serena set out for a year before returning to the tour in 1997, where she made headlines by defeating Monica Seles, who was then ranked number 4 in the world. By the end of the year, she had squeezed into the top 100 in the world at the age of 16. Her first Grand Slam event was the 1998 Australian Open. Serena made easy work of Romanian Irina Spurlia, who was the 6th seed. In the second round, though, she came up against her most familiar opponent of all, her sister Venus. The two were inseparable in the first set, taking it to a tiebreaker. Venus narrowly clinched it, and from there, the momentum shifted. She steamrolled Serena 6-1 in the second set to advance to the round of 32. Venus, 2 years older than Serena, finished 1998 ranked number 5 in the world. Venus's height advantage gave her longer range, and her figure made it nearly impossible to pass her with a tennis ball. Serena, on the other hand, was shorter, without the benefit of long, lanky arms to draw on. The 1998 Australian Open would be the first of 27 meetings between the two professionally. In the same year, they paired up to compete in doubles, where they quickly rocketed to the top 20 in the rankings. Serena took another year to break into the top 10 in singles, and it was the year of her first and most important Grand Slam. Venus had made a name for herself much quicker than Serena. After a disappointing start to Serena's 1999 season, it looked to be going in the same direction. Venus had just won the prestigious Wimbledon for the first time, and Richard Williams celebrated by jumping over the stands and yelling, "Straight outta Compton." But the US Open was Serena's turn for her father's pride. It would be a coming-of-age moment, stamping her mark on women's tennis. Serena didn't drop a set until the third round, when she beat future world number 1 Kim Clijsters. In the quarterfinals, she came back to beat 4th-seeded Monica Seles before taking out number 2 Lindsay Davenport. Waiting for her in the finals was number 1 ranked Martina Hingis, who had beaten Venus in the semifinals. But this was Serena's moment, and she stormed to victory, claiming her first Grand Slam. Serena hovered in the top 10 over the next 2 years, but failed to win another Grand Slam, while Venus won Wimbledon and the US Open twice each. Not all fans were happy, though. In 2001, the two sisters were accused of match fixing. Some media outlets claimed that their father Richard would pick the winner in their matches beforehand. Serena was booed during her matches. She was attacked with racial slurs. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last time. But if her detractors were hoping that it would drag her performance down, they were sorely mistaken. Serena won the French Open in 2002, followed by winning Wimbledon and the US Open. The Williams era had officially begun. The two had won 9 Grand Slams in the space of 3 years. Their style of tennis, taught to them by their father, focused on physicality and power, shifting away from the kind of technique that had characterized the previous half-century of women's tennis. From 2002, Venus's performance dropped off after injuries and then the death of one of her half-sisters, Yetunde Price. Meanwhile, Serena ended 2002 as #1 ranked with only 5 losses and 56 wins. But she too was suffering from injuries, with 2003's Wimbledon the standout of a disappointing season where she slipped out of the top 10. The media speculated that the Williams era had been short-lived. Their frequent injuries and inconsistent results put a serious question mark on their longevity in the sport. Serena hit back at criticism by winning the 2005 Australian Open, but again her form dropped, leaving her ranked 139 the following year. Tumbling down the rankings left Serena in a dark place. She later admitted that she was suffering from depression, isolating herself, and tennis was the last thing she felt like doing. But she had a change of heart when a young fan pleaded with her to return to tennis. Hitting the court again with a morale boost, Serena steadily began climbing up the rankings. She told the media that she intended to reclaim the #1 ranking. Australian player Pat Cash said it was time for her to get real and accept that she obviously didn't have the dedication to revive her career. At the 2007 Australian Open, her old hunting ground, Serena entered the tournament unseeded. She mounted more than one heroic comeback on her way to the finals, coming within 2 points of being eliminated. For the trophy, she would have to defeat #1 seeded Maria Sharapova. Her performance couldn't have been more emphatic. She crushed Sharapova in straight sets 6-1, 6-2. It was the 8th Grand Slam, and more importantly, the one that silenced many of her critics. It was also an early warning shot for what came over the next 9 years, where she went on to win a staggering 15 more titles, more than double the amount she had won in her first peak. She surged back to world #1 in 2008, falling only briefly out of the top 10 in 2011. Once again, she hit back twice as hard, following up her slump of 3 years with complete dominance, where she only lost 15 games. In 2015, she won the Australian Open, the French Open, and Wimbledon, before a shock upset in the semifinals of the US Open denied her a Grand Slam of winning all in a single year. The following year, her 185-week run at #1 finally came to an end, putting her equal to Steffi Graf's record. Her work earned her a different #1 too, becoming the highest-earning female athlete ever. She signed her first deal with Puma when she was still only 16. That was worth around $13 million after she ticked off performance bonuses. Combined with $94 million in prize money, her endorsements have seen her net worth grow to an estimated $450 million. Despite a Grand Slam win at Wimbledon, 2016 saw her withdraw from competitions with shoulder injuries. At the end of the year, she became engaged. With nothing left to conquer and her age catching up with her, fans wondered if it would be Serena's final season. However, she had one more surprise left to shock the tennis world. Her last major title came at the 2017 Australian Open, where she defeated Venus in their 7th meeting in a Grand Slam final. Serena became the oldest woman to win a Grand Slam at 35 years old. It was later revealed that she was also 8 weeks pregnant when she won it. 5 years later, she announced her retirement from tennis, calling curtains on an exceptional career with 23 Grand Slams, 14 doubles Grand Slams, and 4 Olympic gold medals. More than physicality and athleticism, the legacy of Serena Williams is one of determination. Her trademark was coming from behind and clinching victory, not only in each match, but in her career too. She channeled pressure into success. When nobody else believed in her, Serena turned everything around. In her post-playing career, she's been politically active about black rights and women's rights. She's been involved in charity work since the early 2000s, serving as UNICEF's Goodwill Ambassador. The Serena Williams Foundation funds students from marginalized backgrounds to study at university. She's also set up programs in her former childhood neighborhood of Compton to help teens choose a better option than crime and violence. Her on-court achievements opened the door for a new generation of young women. She was also the first African American to win a Grand Slam since Althea Gibson in 1958. Stepping away from sport into a different stage of her life, Serena Williams' figure still looms large as an inspiration for women all around the world.